Welcome, my friends. This evening's pre-Christmas Bhagavad Gita class. We are beginning with chapter 5. Let's see, chapter 5. Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So we see that Krishna has emphasized a great deal about Karma Yoga, action. He's gone through great pains in explaining to Arjuna. In other words, explaining to us, because Arjuna is the everyman in this drama of Bhagavad Gita. So he's explaining to us what is the proper utilization of the human form of life. And this fifth chapter is just further underscoring the importance of your actions, how we act and how we connect to the Supreme by virtue of our actions in proper consciousness. So we'll begin with chapter 5, text 1. And as always, I'll start with some Sanskrit to put us in the mood of Bhagavad Gita, the actual dialogue that Krishna. Again, I was telling somebody yesterday, they asked me, what is your favorite book in relationship to Bhakti Yoga? So I thought about it for a second because, there are so many important and relevant books to study in order to understand Bhakti Yoga. And I thought about it for a second and I just said, I guess it has to be Bhagavad Gita, because when you actually think of what Bhagavad Gita is in relationship to the other text, and Bhagavad Gita is actually Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, speaking. There is a dialogue. He's directly giving us instructions on how we can obtain self-realization. First, let's read this verse, and then I'll continue with that line of thought. Arjuna Uvacha, Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna, Punar Yogam Shashanksasi, Yach Chreya Etayor Ekam, Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. And the translation to that Sanskrit verse is, Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So, Arjuna is asking this question, and just get back to my original point about why Bhagavad Gita is so important to me individually in terms of my yoga practice, my bhakti yoga practice. It's because I meditate on the fact that Krishna is speaking this directly. So these are words, instructions that are directly passed down to us via Krishna through this dialogue with Arjuna. So that's why I consider it of utmost importance to study Bhagavad Gita intensely like we do in order to help us understand the true nature of the self. So that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the true nature of the self is a distinction between matter and spirit. But it goes beyond that. Krishna progresses beyond that point, because it's not enough in terms of self-realization, according to the Bhakti Yoga process, just to understand that principle. Because once we understand that principle, that we're not the body, that we're the soul requires ras. This Sanskrit word is a beautiful Sanskrit word, and ras means, one way it can be translated as taste. Another way it can be translated as the experience of pleasure. So the soul, Krishna, this may be like considered contradictory. how is Krishna asking us to give up sense gratification? But the nature of the soul is to experience pleasure. So, how do we experience pleasure if we give up sense gratification? Because our senses being gratified, what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch. The nature is we do it because we get some gratification out of it. So why is Krishna telling us not to work? I mean, to work, but not to experience enjoy the fruits of the results of your actions. It seems contradictory. It seems like a contradictory point. And Arjuna is actually hinting at this, that if our nature as spirit souls is to experience pleasure, how do we get that pleasure? And that's where the instructions that are coming to us via Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Gita provides us the foundation and the actual practice and experience of those instructions gives us the taste. So ras means the taste, the experience of a pleasure that comes from the true nature of the soul. In many different texts, they say the nature of the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. Many different yoga processes and many different yoga teachers of the past and present have defined spiritual nature, the spiritual nature as Sat Chit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So the taste of the spirit comes from its interaction with the divine spirit. In the case of Bhakti Yoga, which is a personalistic philosophy, I mean, in other words, according to the Bhakti Yoga text, we are eternally a spirit soul who has personality, and we experience our pleasure through our interaction with the Supreme Personality. According to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is another sacred Bhakti Yoga text, it defines reality, the ultimate reality, the absolute truth, appears in three features. I've said this before in our classes, but it's a point well worth reiterating, because understanding this point will help you to understand the nature of Bhakti Yoga as different from other yoga systems. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Bhagavan iti paramatmiti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate. And that means that the nature of the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, the absolute truth, the unchanging truth is that the absolute truth can appear in three different features according to your desire, and your desire to interact, and your desire is manifest through the yoga system that you practice. Because one yoga system, it's called Advaitin philosophy. The goal of that yoga system is to enter into the spiritual energy of Brahman, and with no concern for personality or personal interaction or anything, but it's to experience reality, absolute truth, in the form, the way it appears in Brahman, or the energy, which is the substance of everything. And the goal of the meditation is to enter into that oneness. And that's what you'll hear in different yoga systems, to be one. I am one with the truth, I am the truth, etc., etc. Bhakti Yoga focuses in on the other two aspects of the absolute truth and how it can appear or how it can manifest. And that is Paramatma, which is the supreme divinity within our heart. according to both Patanjali and particularly Bhakti Yoga system, there's two souls in every body, meaning the spirit soul, who we are, and then the supreme soul, or the super soul, which sits next to the spirit soul and provides knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness to that spirit soul. So through another type of meditation, particularly the yoga meditation of Patanjali, one may interact or come in contact with that divinity that is within the heart. And then the third, which is bhakti yoga, is actually the Bhagavan. As I said in that verse that from the sacred text, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So Brahman is the spiritual energy, which is part of that divine reality. Paramatma is divinity that comes into this material world to accompany the soul in its journey within the material world. And then Bhagavan, Bhagyavan, that means one who possesses six opulences in perfection, and that is in reference to the Supreme Personality. So from the Bhakti Yoga tradition and the Bhakti Yoga goal to be achieved, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here in Bhagavad Gita as Krishna. It's also referred to as Vishnu. And then there are various incarnations of Vishnu that appear in this world, like Ramachandra. And having service or developing or cultivating service to that feature of the absolute truth, that is bhakti yoga. There is no other definition to bhakti yoga which can translate it accurately other than devotional service to the supreme divinity of the absolute truth in its personal feature. That's kind of a nutshell definition of bhakti yoga, devotion. And we manifest that devotion through service. So that is a little nutshell introduction. So Arjuna asks two questions, or actually it's one question, two parts. Oh, Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again, you recommend work with devotion. So I want to read the commentary by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada because it gives a nice kind of summary, overall summary of this. And it reads as follows. In this fifth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Dry mental speculation is usually a paraphrase of Gyan Yoga, especially from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and this lineage of Bhakti Yoga's perspective. So devotional service is easier than the latter because being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. It means we're transcendental in nature, and devotional service is transcendental in nature. So by performing devotional service to the supreme absolute truth in its Bhagavan or personal form, it is natural. The soul is eternity, knowledge, and bliss. The supreme personality of Godhead is eternity, knowledge, and bliss. One is the infinite feature, and the other one is the finite feature. The soul, the spirit soul, is the finite feature. So it frees one from reaction when one performs devotion, acts of devotion in relationship to the Supreme. Now, I just want to pause there. I want to hit the pause button because I know it's a mouthful, and I want to know, would anyone like to um, an observation, a question on what was just said. Because if you guys get the point that I just made, and then that's very good, and I feel very satisfied. If you don't be embarrassed. It is a very deep philosophical point in the Bhakti Yoga system. And to get it clarified, I'd be happy to do that at this point. So does anyone have any question on what I just said, about the truth having three features, just like the sun has different features. There's the sun orb, the sun god, Surya, and there's the sunshine. So that analogy is used quite often in the sacred texts of bhakti to give us an understanding of what that means. They're all interrelated, but there is a source. There's a source of the sun orb, and the sun orb produces the sunshine. So there is that uh, metaphor which helps us to understand this point. So can I clarify it further, or are you all pretty good with what's been said so far? You're all on the same page. Anyone? Okay, I got a big okay from Mukti. How about anybody else? Anyone else okay with what I just said? Sri Hari, how are you doing with that point? You okay with that point?
Well, I get that there's the Brahman, the Paramatma, and the Bhagavan, and
Exactly.
and they're like three distinct things, although they're wrapped under the same umbrella.
Okay. Very nice. Everyone else are getting that point, so I can move on or further clarify or any question that you may have in that regard. I don't want to start calling on people. I don't want. I know many
You
of
just
you.
did.
I know you because you're a special person.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm your shiksha, so I have to put you on the hot seat every once in a while.
I appreciate
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue with this commentary in the second chapter. So this is kind of like a summary of what we studied so far. In the second chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained, and also explaining that the entanglement in the material body was the source of our suffering. How to get out of this material encagement by Buddhi yoga or devotional service, or Buddhi yoga is sometimes used as bhakti yoga. Buddhi literally means intelligence, so the yoga of intelligence is sometimes a synonym for bhakti yoga. Uh, or devotional service was also explained therein. In the third chapter, so what do we have? Second chapter, explanation of the distinction between the soul and matter, and then mention of the process of buddhi or bhakti yoga. Third chapter was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And And in the fourth chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the fourth chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination, which leads us to the question here in the fifth chapter. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyas, or renunciation in knowledge, should be altogether free from all kinds of activity. And herein lies the confusion. That's me speaking. Herein lies the confusion. Um, yeah, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. So that's the point that Arjuna is raising because he is feeling it's an important point, and it's a point that can oftentimes be confused. So now we're moving into the fifth chapter. We got into out of discussion about that, but basically what Arjuna is saying is his understanding is still erroneous. He's thinking that in order to be inactive and thus not receive the karmic reaction, which is necessary to get out of this material world, to be free from karmic reaction, is a criteria for getting out of this material world. So he is thinking, still he's thinking, because in the beginning of the third chapter, he thought like that too. He's still thinking that in order to be inactive and free from the reaction, because action in the material world causes reactions. Whether the action is good, the action is bad. Still, there's reaction. Good reaction to good action, and bad reaction to bad action. So he's still thinking like that. You know, if I work in devotion, I'm still going to be subject to reactions, and the only way I can not be subject to reactions, karmic reactions, is not to work, is to avoid any kind of activity in this world, and just to retire to the Himalayas and lead a life in meditation. But that's not what Krishna said, and Krishna is going to reiterate that point. He's saying, in order to be truly situated on a non-reactive platform, in other words, in order to not get reaction from your action, the action has to be as an offering to the Supreme. That is the switch that you flip. Not that you stop acting. It's literally impossible to do that. But that you just, there's a change in consciousness. And the change in consciousness is affected by the sadhana in bhakti. That you see everything as an offering, as a sacrifice to the Supreme. And when that switch has been flipped, that you see your cooking and your work and your relationships and everything that you do, yat karoshi, yat asnasi, yat jahosi dadasi, when you, everything that you do can be turned into an offering to the divine. That is called akarma. Krishna, in the previous chapters, 3 and 4 in particular, he talks about karma, good action, good reaction. Vikarma, bad action, bad reaction. Akarma, action in relationship or as an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That has no reaction. It is action. It is doing things, but it is doing things with a different consciousness. So that is what Arjuna is missing. And Arjuna is raising this point because it's a difficult point to understand. It's not an easy point to understand that, initially in the second chapter, Krishna defines yoga as not enjoying the fruits of your action. And then again, he gets back to that point because, when you think about it, how do I act? And there's results to my actions, but I can't enjoy the results to my actions. It becomes very confusing. So because it has that tendency to create confusion, there is a repetition. Again, in second chapter, Krishna mentions it. Third chapter, Krishna talks about it. Fourth chapter, Krishna elaborates on it. And now the fifth chapter, Arjuna wants to make sure the audience, that's us, is clear on this point. So he brings it up again. And Krishna reacts. Krishna answers. Krishna replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation. Because liberation is not the complete, I'll use that word because I think Prabhupada uses that word. It's not the complete achievement that the soul can have. We can be liberated or understand, fully immersed in the nature of the soul as being separate from the material realm and the material elements, be a separate energy, actually, an anti-material energy. The spiritual energy is also defined as an anti-material energy. It is the opposite of material energy, which is earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. Those are the 8 elements of the material energy. They have the feature of being temporary, changing, always changing. And ultimately, absorption in the material energy of being surrounded by and influenced by the material energy, it can create the concept of suffering. And I say the concept of suffering because the soul is free from suffering. The soul does not suffer. It's the mind, which is one of the elements in this material world and which facilitates the change or the forms that come as a result of observing the world around us. We think that the mind, the material mind, thinks that that's the source of pleasure. And when it doesn't deliver pleasure, as quite often it does not do, then there's bewilderment and suffering. So that's not the way to experience full, complete liberation, Krishna is saying. Full, complete liberation involves the word that I said, ras. When ras is there, coupled with the understanding that we're not the body, we're spirit soul, the next question that's asked from the Bhakti Yoga tradition, then if we're not the body, the spirit soul, what is the action or what does the spirit soul do? Is it Buddhist-like nirvana, nothingness? Or is it, according to the Advaitin philosophy, the merge into spiritual energy, and then there is freedom from material reactions? Or from the Bhakti Yoga tradition, it is the development or the revival of a relationship, eternal, loving relationship with the personal feature of the Supreme. And that's where Ras comes into play. So Prabhupada mentions quite often when there is no ras there, there is no complete satisfaction. Even if there is liberation or understanding the true nature of the self. Ras, pleasure of a transcendental nature that comes as a result of interpersonal relationship with the Supreme, that produces ras, nectar, pleasure
The
of a
question,
different order. So this is what Krishna is trying to say here.
Prabhu, can you
Yes.
spell Ras?
Yes. Rasa.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
Right. Rasa. It's sometimes rasa, but in Sanskrit, it's pronounced Raas. Ras.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
You're welcome. Okay. So let's go move on to text 3. Because Krishna just answered true renunciation is not inactivity, but freedom from attachment. Action performed as duty purifies faster than mere abstention. Does everyone know what abstention means? When you stop, you abstain from doing stuff. So Krishna, in a summary statement, one, true renunciation is not inactivity, but freedom from attachment. And attachment is caused by interaction with the material elements, thinking it to be our reality. Action performed as duty purifies faster. So Krishna is saying the action as duty is the preliminary stage of purification, of how we purify ourselves. The result of purification of the heart is we are able to understand our need for ras, our need for pleasure, but not material pleasure. Up until this point, we need pleasure. We need to experience ras or pleasure or taste, but not from we don't get that which we need, that which we desire from interacting with the material elements. It's not capable of producing the degree and the nature of ras that we actually crave. And when we crave it because it's part of our nature, but yet we don't know of it or how to obtain it, and therefore we resort to the little pleasure that we get from our interaction with the material senses. It's natural, and that's what drives every soul, no matter what body it's in, and no matter what level of consciousness. It's the intrinsic desire to experience ras or pleasure that drives us. And without knowledge, which Krishna is giving us, he's giving us that knowledge. Without knowledge of how to obtain the true ras that will give us completeness, a sense of completeness, a sense of santosh or fulfillment. It's not only that we need the taste, but we also, when we get the taste from the right source, there's a sense of fulfillment, not just a sense of gratification. So every living entity, the main drive of the living entity is due to this. Yes, yes. And Sri Hari asked the question, is there a relationship between the rasa dance and the word rasa as I'm using it. Yeah, that is the rasa dance is the ultimate in the devotee's interaction with the Supreme Personality, in this regard, Krishna. So that dance, and I know Nathan is online, and he does a lot of ecstatic dances. So the ultimate dance is the dance of transcendence between Krishna, the Supreme, and his devotee. So the Ras dance is like there's no higher experience. That's why so many people like the ecstatic dance experience, Nathan, because it's a fulfillment, it's a way through body, through mind, through various sensory desires and needs, is a way to come in contact with pleasure. So similarly, the Ras dance of Krishna and the gopis is the highest manifestation of how they're dancing with Krishna. There's no higher experience touching Krishna, dancing, utilizing every movement and every sensory experience in this dance move next to Krishna. So it's called the rasa dance, or the highest exchange of love and devotion between Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of God, and Bhagavan's server, the devotee, in devotion. Does that answer your question, Sri Hari?
Yes,
Okay,
thank
good.
you.
You are welcome. Text 3. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known as to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. So this is a definition of the true renunciate. They neither hate nor desires the fruits of their activities. It's not that because oftentimes when you try to give something up, you try to look at it in the negative, right? Oh, I can't do that. I really don't like that. But attachment has two sides of a coin. To be attached to something and desire it, or to negate it. But it's two sides of the same coin of attachment. So when one comes to the point of renunciation, not on that level, not on the level of, I hate it, therefore I must give it up, or I really desire it, just equipoised, samatvam. That was the definition that Krishna first gives yoga in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, samatvam and karma kaushalam. So samatvam means equipoised through not hating, not overly desiring, but doing our duty in order to become purified, doing our duty in accordance with scripture injunctions coming from the sacred text in order to become purified. The result of the purification is our hearts become pure, and we see that the real pleasure, the real ras, comes from offering everything to the Supreme. That's our devotion. That's our experience. So that's a definition of renunciation. Rupa Goswami also says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, another a very deep bhakti text, Bhakti Ras Amrita. That's two words. Ras is this experience of pleasure, Amrita, the nectar of that experience. So in Rupa Goswami's book, he describes that real renunciation is not just not giving things up, but it is becoming free from possessiveness. We don't possess. We come into this world naked and we leave this world naked. That's the way a devotee sees our interaction within this world. We don't come into the world anything being ours. We don't leave this world with anything being ours. So we interact this world having that same mindset. We do our duty. You know, when we're young, we do our duty, don't we? We go to school. We get educated. You know, how many of us, you know, when we were younger, really liked going to school? I know my son likes going to school, but that's uncommon. Uh, Most kids would rather stay home and play video games than go to school. But we do our duty young, when we're young. When we grow old, and our education for most of us, or, you know, if we don't go to college or the higher degrees, then as soon as we graduate high school, we may go into the trades, right? We may go be trained as a carpenter or an electrician or as a plumber or, you know, a medical assistant, or, you know, there's so many different trainings that are out there so that we can pursue our further duty in life to support ourselves and to eventually support our family. That becomes our dharma, our duty, part of our dharma, our duty. So the training of dharma as an offering. See, dharma in and of itself, without seeing it connected to the Supreme, produces reactions, produces karma. Dharma produces karma if it's not seen in relationship to the Supreme. If Dharma is seen in relationship to the Supreme, then Dharma is a very powerful, purificatory force. And that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Don't give up your Dharma as a warrior. You were trained by the best. You were trained by Dronacharya. He is the best of the teachers of the martial arts. Don't give it up. Just see it as an offering to the Supreme, and it purifies the heart. The result of the purification of the heart is the desire to engage in loving service to that Supreme. We make the offering, the heart becomes purified through our dharmic performances. Purified heart sees everything not only in relationship with the Supreme, but as a loving offering to the Supreme. You can give a gift out of obligation, right? You're going to a Christmas party at work, and then there's the Secret Santa, right? So you have to give a gift. That's one way. But then there's someone that you love, and you want to express your love to your wife, to your husband, to your partner. You want to express your love. You want to demonstrate your gratitude for all that they bring into your life. And then you go and you try to get a gift that demonstrates that feeling. So we see you can make an offering, obligatory offering, or you can make an offering in love. And that's the progress. Dharma means the offering that you're obliged to do until you actually become attached to making that offering and experiencing the love and the devotion that comes from making that offering to the Supreme. And when you begin to feel that, that's the beginning of relationship. In bhakti, there's different levels of as you progress. First level is Shraddha. That's faith. You have to have a little faith that there is a Bhagavan, a Supreme. You have to develop that. You cultivate that. How do you cultivate that? Knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, as you are doing, and Sangha with those who have that faith and that conviction and are living a life which demonstrates that. And that puts the seed of faith into the heart. So Shraddha is the first step, sadhu sangha, seeking out association is the second step. The third step is bhajana kriya. And bhajana kriya means your sadhana, your practice of cultivating the mind where everything is an offering to the Supreme. That's why we chant in kirtan. That's why we chant in japa. That's why we do service seva to other great devotees. We want to serve. We have a compulsion to serve the those that are advanced because we can appreciate what they can give us in relationship to our own development in spiritual life. So Shraddha is first that comes. Sadhu Sangha increases the Shraddha, the faith. Bhajana Kriya means the actual performance of devotional activities to cultivate this mindset that we're talking about, where we're performing Dharma, but Dharma as an offering, not Dharma just as an obligation. It starts out as obligation, eventually becomes off. So bhajana kriya, or the sadhana, the practice of the various aspects of bhakti, give us that. By performance of bhajana kriya, we rise to the next level. It's called anartha nibritti. Anartha nibritti means that which is in the heart, the impure things, the unwanted things, the obstacles in the heart, which is preventing us from giving our heart to God. Those things, by bhajana kriya, by practice, by sadhana, by the chanting, those things start to get removed. And then after that, there's nishta. Nishta means conviction. You're fixed now. You're convinced now that this is the way I want to lead my life. I want the ras. I want the taste which comes from serving God. I want that. And then you get that ruchi, taste. And then from that, then you get the asakti, attachment. Now you're becoming attached to performing, these activities, this sadhana. I feel incomplete if I don't do my sadhana. There's a rare occasion where I can't do all my japa, but I make it up the next day. So you become attached to doing that because of what you're getting as a result. So Shraddha, faith, then Sadhu Sangha, association with great personalities that help you develop faith, then Bhajana Kriya, which is the sadhana, the practice of devotion. Then anartha nibriti, by the practice of devotional activities, devotional service, you remove unwanted things within the heart. That leads you to the stage of being convinced, convicted. You are full of conviction, nishta. So those first five, and then the last three are ruchi, taste, asakti, attachment. Last four actually. Uh, um, then bhava and prema. Bhava means you actually develop devotion, emotion, emotions which comes by performing devotional activities. And that is giving you the taste. Now the taste is there in everything that you do, in the chanting of kirtan, in the chanting of japa, in the association of the sadhus, in the reading of the sacred text. You actually, there are stories of great personalities. Just upon reading a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, tears come to their eyes. That's bhava, the emotion, and ultimately prema, which is pure love and loving exchange with the Supreme. So that's the whole progress that's there. Let me look at the time here. Let's move on. Text 4. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service or karma yoga as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So it just depends on your mindset, your intention. If knowledge is there so that you understand who you are, the nature of who you are, the nature of dharma as an offering, etc., then it has it's there. Both those paths are leading you to the same goal, to the same destination. Text 5. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are, because they're paths leading to the same goal. 6. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service, can achieve the supreme without delay. So again, it's just supporting that understanding. Text 7. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a person is never entangled. So everyone is dear to you because you're seeing clearly that every living entity that is on the face in this universe is a spirit soul. So you see that as that soul, not the covering, and therefore it is very dear to you. And that's why we practice ahimsa, nonviolence. People often ask me, why are you a vegetarian? And I say, number one, it's really healthy, but most importantly is that there are souls, and to cause souls to suffer is heavy karma. So eating meat, which is coming out of a slaughterhouse or a fishery or poultry, there's a lot of suffering that is caused to living entities, and there's heavy reaction to that. So therefore, on our path, we try to minimize the suffering of all living entities as much as we're able to. Such a man is never entangled. Text 8 and 9. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. Okay, this is like a clear further explanation from the second chapter that you're not the body. It is a machine. Yantra Rudani Maya. It is a machine made of material energy, and you are within that machine, and that machine is functioning because of the presence of the soul, which is Brahman, which is spiritual energy. When the material elements are touched by divine energy, spiritual energy, there is motivation, there is activation. So Krishna is making that point that that is the indication of a person situated in divine consciousness. And we'll stop at this last one, number 10. One who performs his duty without attachment, repeating that point, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, repeating again that point, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So the metaphor that's being used is the lotus is a beautiful flower that grows from the muddy bottom of a pond or a lake. And even though it's in that water, it's not affected by that water because of the coating on the lotus leaf. So the water just bubbles up and rolls off. So we, being in this material world, if we have the divine consciousness, we're performing an indication of divine consciousness is without attachment, surrendering the results, offering the results. We are unaffected by our karmic reactions. Hare Krishna. So we end here. Does anyone have any question or comment or any observation, realization that you may have had? Yes, I see Mukti has his hand up. Sri Hari has his hand up. Mukti first. We pay our honor to you as our senior.
I'm just I was meditating or just thinking about that Arjuna is really very transcendent because he's indicating he's very aware of sannyas, very aware of renunciation, even though he's a kshatriya.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just struck with that he's actually he's aware of all four, ashrams at the same time. So
Right.
he's really transcendent.
Yeah, and that's a good point to raise because we have to understand Arjuna is not an ordinary person, that he is actually acting on our behalf so that Krishna will speak these words for us. So
Yeah, at
Mhm.
the same time, he was experiencing despair and very, very deep human feelings. More than just acting.
Right, right. He's experiencing, yes. That's because there are different types of Maya. Does everyone know what Maya is? Maya is the illusion that is caused by the material energy in contact with material energy. There is what's called Mahamaya, and that means an illusion that is caused by the soul interacting with the material elements and being covered and influenced by the material energy. That's called Mahamaya. And then there's Yoga Maya. And Yoga Maya means that a pure soul, like Arjuna, can fall into illusion by Krishna's design, by Krishna's will. So Arjuna, noble soul, he felt all of those emotions. That's all given. But it wasn't because Arjuna was in the material world interacting with the material elements. It was directly due to Krishna's influence over Arjuna at that point in time, so that Arjuna could experience the Vishada. The first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, and that means Arjuna's despair becomes his yoga, his catalyst for connecting with the Supreme. So there's two types of Maya. Okay, Srihari, you had your hand up.
Yes. In text 3, it talks about the reality of the renunciation, and can that be interchanged with neutrality?
Renunciation as neutrality?
Yes.
Well, it depends how you're defining neutrality, because neutrality has a definition in Bhakti Yoga in terms of the 5 loving exchanges with the Supreme. So can one be situated in a neutral state with the Supreme? That's called Shanta Ras. And the answer is yes, by renunciation. The 4 Kumaras are an example of that. They were at first in that neutral or that Shanta Ras stage, and then eventually, by coming in contact with Lord Vishnu, they had the overwhelming emotions of a devotee.
Yes, let me be more specific. The first sentence, the purport, it says, one who is fully conscious, Krishna conscious is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire of the results of his actions. So what I get from that is neutrality.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, in that way, it could be defined as a neutral position, not being swayed by either hatred or elation, but being in that neutral or that stable. The word that Krishna uses is sama tvam. So sama means that there's a kind of a peacefulness that one is experiencing when you are not affected, not overreacting in hatred or even overreacting in elation. So yeah, that's a nice observation. Thank you for sharing that with everyone.
Thank you. I got it.
Mhm. Anyone else? Victor, ¿cómo estás? Good to see you. Any other
Namaste,
questions
brother.
that anyone would like to bring up, or realization in this regard?
Yes,
Okay, if not, then I thank you all.
Wait, Trish had a question.
yeah,
Oh,
I
I'm
do.
sorry. Go ahead,
It's
Trish.
okay. Sometimes
You-
I'm not too quick to chime in.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
Hare
One of
Krishna.
the exercises that I've been working on for like focusing on the sense enjoyment and making sure that a lot more of my life is, an act of service to the Supreme. One of the things that has been helping me is, especially in situations, to think of these interactions with people that it's God's words, or it's God's work, these are God's doings. And when I can frame it that way, it's easier to bring it back to giving these acts up to the Supreme.
Yes.
And it's been helping me a lot.
Well, that's what connection means. That's what yoga means. Yoga means, union, link, connect. And so from the bhakti perspective, yes, we see everything, like we see all living entities as divine creations. They're actually part and parcel. Sometimes, I just love being with people. It's because of that energy. I know that energy as a spirit force, not just as, a man, a woman, a black person, a white person, but it being with the energy, the spirit force that person brings to the table. Every person brings to the table. And, when you have individual dialogue with people, you're not in a group setting, and you feel that even more. You feel that spiritual force and the commonality that brings, and therefore you can see, everyone in that light, and it really does help. And we practically, when a person is getting us angry, and a person is acting in a way that, is obnoxious or arrogant or whatever, bringing that into the mix helps. I mean, it doesn't always work. I mean, we do have buttons that do get pushed, and sometimes it's unavoidable because of whatever level we're on. But the reality is that is a spirit soul, and the arrogance or the conceit or the other qualities that may come out are a result of the conditioning that they have experienced through their interaction with the material energy and their attachment to the material energy. It is hard, when you're in the fire of it, it's hard to bring that, but ultimately it can be a very potent force for us, sobering, stabilizing, peace-inducing force for us when we were able to make the connection with all living entities. Yeah. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Trish. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Nathan.
Yes, very, very glad I was able to join today. I'm at work, but definitely want to join more often and really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Some things that came up for me, maybe because it's something I'm going through, is when you were speaking about the relationship with the divine. I was wondering if I've read the Bhagavad Gita several times, but I'm sure that there's so many different things that I don't get from it that other people do. But what I realize is that I felt my deepest connection to the divine when I'm actually single. And I was wondering if relationships with our significant others can be a distraction to that divine connection that we have with the creative.
Well, that's a good question. The answer to that is a relationship, if you're both on the same page as to what that relationship is meant. If you see your significant other as an object of your sense gratification, the answer is definitely yes. It can be an obstacle on your development. If, on the other hand, you see that relationship as a mutual journey, and you are helping your significant other, and your significant other is helping you in your journey, both of you have that in mind, then it becomes a very powerful force as far as stabilizing your commitment to that journey. Because outside of a relationship with a significant other, then there's all kinds of distractions that come in from other, for us as males, other females, and it, having a relationship, a loving relationship with a person on the same page, it helps you to focus, to be focused and to be dedicated to one relationship and that relationship has a very powerful effect on you advancing and being convicted or having conviction in in your journey. So if the relationship helps you to achieve that conviction and that focus and that determination, and you're inspired in facilitating their journey and they're inspired in facilitating your journey, then no, it's not an obstacle on your path. It's actually a benefit. And if it does, interfere with that as your goal, then yes, it can be an obstacle. So is that clear?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anyone else would like to make a comment or give a question? I'm happy. I see someone said something here. That was Jai Krishna Das, thanking everyone for their association. Jai Krishna, he's been studying with me for, I don't know, 4 years now. And he lives in the Dominican Republic. And he doesn't get much association there. So he's really grateful for the opportunities that he has to associate. Okay, if there's no other questions, I like to wish everyone a happy holiday coming up. I'll tell you a funny little story. I think I told Sri Hari this already. I was at the doctor's office, went for my yearly checkup with he's Indian, Sanjeev Gupta is his name. And after we went through the patient doctor dialogue, we're leaving his office and he turns around and he says, "So what is it? Do I say Merry Christmas or Happy New Year? No, Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah to you." And I said, "No, Sanjeev, you say Hare Krishna to me." And he stopped and he looked and he started laughing. He said, "Yeah, I guess that covers all bases, doesn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, it does." So happy Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and above all, Hare Krishna to all of you. I hope I'm leaving for Puerto Rico on Christmas Day. I'll be there for 4 days for the festival that's being held on the 27th, the Rath Yatra, the Festival of Chariots, and we'll be doing a lot of fun chanting there for those couple of days. So you all have a very happy, healthy, and holy week. And next Tuesday is what date? Does anyone know offhand? Let me see. Next Tuesday is
30th.
the third. I think we'll just give everybody a break. You can bring in the new year, and so we'll have it January 6th. January 6th. Well, will be our next class. I'll send out a reminder, but January 6th will be our next class. Okay. Hare Krishna. Say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Be
Hare
well.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Be well.
Thank you.